This is going to be a sequel to the previous video I made, which talks about asking for permission throughout your life. If you have a light, if you have a something you feel coming through, something you're passionate about, but you're waiting for this non-existent permission from people to do it. For example, if you're into video making, but you don't do it because you're afraid of judgment, and you're waiting for somebody to think that it's okay to do it in order for you to do it. The purpose of that video was kind of to explain that you don't have to wait for permission to do what you want to do, because yourself 20 years from now will absolutely regret it. And that's kind of the next thing I want to talk about relating to not asking for permission. What would yourself 20 years from now say if you did not follow through on at least trying to follow your dreams? It's a deep and loaded question, but many overlook it because they see millions, thousands upon millions of people not following their dreams. And they'll put on this act like they are living the life that they want to live. But in reality, so many people have dreams that are so much deeper than what they're actually doing right now. For example, when you're a kid and you're in class or whatever in, whatever elementary school, and you get asked what it is that you want to be when you grow up, and people say an astronaut, a princess, all this other stuff. People want to be like a firefighter, an NBA player, a professional sports player in general. How many of those people do you think are actually doing that? How many of those people do you think are actually living out the dreams that they once said they wanted? But I understand that, dreams can change, especially from being a little kid. So I guess the question is what you're doing right now what you actually want to be doing? If you're someone that's younger, like around my age, is what you're doing right now somebody your 43-year-old self would say is something you want to be doing? And I think this is an important question to reflect on, because at least for me, every single day I think about things that I want to do that are outside of my comfort zone, but I'm reluctant to do them because they're outside of my comfort zone. And I know I'm this person that talks about how stepping out of your comfort zone is such an amazing thing. It's so positive, which it is. And I have stepped out of my comfort zone in many ways in the past couple of months, but stepping out of your comfort zone is no easy task. That's obvious. And there's other things that are outside of my comfort zone that I've been wanting to do that I've probably been sitting on for months now. And so I asked myself in 40 years, if I had just done it, right? If I had just taken the leap with all of these things, where will my life be? Where will I end up? And that's such a, I guess, ambiguous question. You don't know how that's going to look, how that's going to treat you. But then I'll ask you this, right? If you're above 20, ask yourself 5 years ago, what would you have done differently? And if you can say a few things, then you can be pretty sure that yourself 5, 10, 20 years from now would say the same things about you now. You get what I mean? Obviously, if you're 15 or 10, you don't have enough life experience. But if you're at least 20, you can look back to your 15-year-old self and say, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. And I don't mean something like investing in Bitcoin. I mean like something you actually were looking forward to doing in your life. For example, for me, in the last video, I talk about how my friends and I started posting on social media, specifically on my account, and because I had their permission, if you will, meaning like everybody felt it was the okay thing to do at the time, I felt good about it. But then I stopped because I didn't have their permission anymore, meaning people stopped doing it. People stopped thinking it was cool or whatever. So looking back on my 15, 16-year-old self, I would have said, dude, just keep doing it if that's what you enjoy doing, right? So I urge you to kind of ask this question to yourself. If you're 20, 25, whatever, what would yourself 5 years ago want? What would you want for yourself 5 years ago? And if you can think of at least one thing that would have put you more towards your dream, think about how yourself 5 years from now would have thought about the things you're doing now and how you're not doing anything to go towards your dream. This quote that I love is completely applicable to this situation, and it is, the best time to start something was 10 years ago, And I know it's pertaining to a specific thing. I can't remember exactly what it is, but let's just use it in this broad sense. The best time to start something was 10 years ago. The second best time to start something is now. It speaks for itself. People have this mindset that because it's already 2026, it's so late, it's so this and that, that they can't start because it's too late. But in reality, you have a ton of years left in your life if you're somebody around my age. And the fact that it's already 2026 should not be a stopping point for you. That sounds more like a limiting belief and an excuse. So if you're somebody that's reluctant to take a step towards their dream, a step that they know is inevitable for the success and for the happiness of their life, then I urge you to ask yourself, what would yourself 20 years from now think? What would yourself 10 years prior to this think? Maybe they would want you to do it, knowing how much life experience you have at that point. And if you think you're somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, think about the next best step and take that step. But don't dim your light for an audience of people that also don't know what they're doing. Because that's another thing that a lot of people fail to see, is that you might not know what you're doing, but I bet you thousands of your peers, people that are in the same situation as you, also don't know what they're doing. They're just trying. That's the difference between doers and thinkers. Thinkers think out the perfect plan, but never execute. Doers actually do and get way further than thinkers. So do something today. Do one thing today that puts you closer to your dream. Thank you for watching.